All right. Good evening, everyone. It's me, Smirk. I'm going to be speaking a little bit softly as one of my daughters is already sleeping and the other one is on her way. Um, so there's already, I had made another video, but I didn't post it. There's already somebody who does like a review of the final changes, Smiles, and um, I think for the most part, I agree with a lot of what he says. So I don't want to make a video that's just kind of redundant in many ways. Um, so the intent of this video is, if you didn't know, I am a member of the Changes Council. And so there's a little bit of perspective there that I can provide. Um, and then also I have a lot of experience with kingdom building and strategizing, and I don't typically go crazy on meta. I tend to focus more on what's fun. So I'm going to probably just point out different fun combos you can pick, especially if you're in a casual kingdom that maybe has more freedom in selecting your race and personality, and you're not just being given a comp by your leaders. Or if you are a leader, maybe there are some combos that you might not have thought of, or considered yet. Okay, so with that said, back to the Changes Council member perspective. Disclaimer, the following is my opinion on things, and absolutely there are many members in the Changes Council and we all have different opinions, so don't take what I say about whatever to be like fact or truth, in terms of what I think is strong or whatever. So without further ado, a few things to talk about that are from the Changes Council perspective. Before that, I do want to take a minute to say, if you don't read these, I really encourage you to. I think Benji writes them and they're so good. Every age, I love reading them. So anyway, something to be happy about, this defecting thing. If you're in a one of the top kingdoms, it doesn't bother you or matter at all. But if you're in a smaller casual kingdom and you're trying to stick to a certain size, this was getting really difficult. So I'm very glad that it's the way it is now. And if you want to have defectors, you can still open your wall. So nothing's stopping you if you like having defectors. But if you wanted to stay at a certain size, this absolutely helps. The only thing I'll say about the doctrines, it was an idea of having kingdom-wide buffs, somehow, and multiple of us had different ideas for it. Apparently it was already something that was done in Genesis as well, so it's something that I think has been receiving a lot of positive feedback from the community, and I hope that it's a fun thing to consider. For a newer player, it's not something you really need to think about too much. Mostly this is going to be something like the kingdom leaders are going to be thinking about more. The doctrines themselves, none of them are really that powerful, and so my recommendation there is to not stress about them too much. Focus more on the actual race and personality. That will give you what you want more than the doctrines will. Because if you think about it, the maximum effect of 7.5, you need to have 7 provinces to reach that. And for some of those things, it's like, do you really want to put 7, dark elves to get a 7.5% instant boost? You know what I mean? Like, maybe you do, and then, hey, nice, but like, it shouldn't be the determining factor. Like, you should be having the dark elves because you like the actual dark elves more than the doctrine itself. Okay, so from the Changes Council, I wasn't really part of anything dragon related. But it is something that multiple members, wanted to talk about because right now it's, depending on what level you play in, level being like competitive or casual or ghetto, certain dragons are pretty much like there's one go-to dragon. So like I think in competitive it's mostly Ruby Dragon from what I've heard. I don't really play in competitive. In the casual world, you typically see Topaz as a big dragon. Um, and you see a few of the others here and there. Like you do still see Ruby Dragons in casual. You see Emerald Dragons as well. But like they're definitely were kind of like go-to dragons, and so we wanted to buff some ones that aren't seeing as much use and include other options. Now Amethyst, there were ideas in that got taken out. One other thing I'd like to say, David doesn't really do much in the changes until the very end, so until finals, and then there's usually no time for the rest of the changes council to kind of chime in with why something was intended to be that way. So like the Amethyst Dragon, the stealth thing got completely removed. um, Honestly, this dragon to me seems like complete useless, for the most part. Maybe as an initial dragon to like prevent enemies from doing ops right out the gate, but like this is a dragon that does nothing when it comes in. And I think Smiles already talked about this, so again, I'm not trying to be redundant here, but the goal was to try to make more dragons and give more options. And I think you know I think Emerald got buffed a little bit. But besides that, I think it is a work in progress that we need to, maybe, elaborate a little more on, to get it where we want it. Rituals, the goal was the same as dragons. We wanted to have more choices, more, viability for rituals to be cast. Like Expedient was basically a ritual that people cast in End of War Ceasefire, and that's about it. Barrier was really just not seen almost ever, and stuff like that. So like it was pretty much haste, onslaught, and then like ascendancy for End of War Ceasefire or Expedient, like pretty much. So buff to barrier, buff to Expedient. Like there are some builds you can even consider running Expedient in war with this. So like especially if you're leaning into a heavy dwarf composition, that building efficiency can really come in to play. So rituals, I think we reached the goal there. I don't know where this change came from, but I like it. Okay, so again, not going to go through all the races and personalities, just going to go through some combos. So I made some fun like Katie comps to go with, and one of them was Avian Tactician, just full slam, entire attacker core. Like screw the doctrines, like you're gonna get this doctrine pretty quick, but like who cares about anything else? Just goes crazy attack time. You run haste rituals so you get the minus 10 attack time and minus 25% training time, which also stacks with the Avian training time. It may seem like kind of like whatever, training time, who cares, but like when you can get your training time to like 6 hours or less, you can really do some crazy soldier aiding to your kingdom mates, and like suddenly you'll just bump huge amounts of defense or offense to a single province, pretty quick, like before the opponent's armies come home to be able to do anything about it, right? And with your fast attack time, you can take advantage of that. So like you have a 6-hour attack time and a 6-hour training time. You get a bunch of aid on one province, and suddenly you can break their unbreakable. Or suddenly you're at really low defense, but now you're like, oh gosh, you're not a dump target anymore. So I really like that combo. So just running crazy amounts of avians with haste ritual all the time, and maybe you would want to have like some orcs in there to generate soldiers or something, necromancers, I don't know. But not totally fleshed out idea, but something along those lines I think could be really fun to play. If you missed it, they do have the cleric spells. So avian tacticians are incredibly powerful, but as a caution, you probably don't want to have just a few of them. You can make it work for sure, but like if you have just 3 or so avian tacticians, you're probably going to get singled out as shell targets. Even with these spells, you're probably still gonna, like, you can just Mystic Vortex them and run the Night Strikes and all that fun stuff. So having a lot more of them makes it much more difficult to manage, like playing against them. All right, so another composition, I have to look at it real quick, that I thought of was the defensive theme. Okay, so this theme, first you're going to want to consider the barrier ritual. So you're reducing enemy gains, you're reducing enemy ops damage, and you have increased birth rate. You're going to be looking at mostly sapphire dragons to further reduce damage taken. And sapphire dragons are cheap, so and it's often a dragon that a lot of people will consider leaving up because they feel like it's not that big a deal. So stacking that with the barrier ritual, you're reducing a lot of damage. Now, this is where some of the doctrines come into play. You run 7 fairies to get the 7.5% reduction to ops, 7 undead to get even less gains, right? And 7 elves to decrease your military casualties. Now that's a lot of elves and fairies, so you also have a lot of natural WPA going on, and you have fairy has the ley line thing, right? So 15% chance to bounce enemy spells. So you're playing a really kind of like op tanky setup here. And then if you're going to 25, you can run a few humans or something to help with science during a divorce ceasefire. Or just more of the other things, right? Like more undead or something like that. But yeah, if you're gonna, so the fairies, they can be mystics, necromancers, heretics, or rogues, right? They will perform well with all of those. I actually really like the fairy rogue combination. Rogue is very powerful and fairies are quite strong, but all of them work. Like the fairy with necromancer, you're getting a lot of, I think the highest wizard's per acre possible. Let me double check that to make sure. Fairy has 25% wizards per acre and mage's fury, and necromancer also has plus 30%. So let's see what that is real quick. So right from just that combination alone, as a fairy necromancer, you have 2.03 times the wizards per acre. That's a lot, right? So if you want to stack the wizards per acre offensively, that's probably the strongest you're gonna get. I think mystic comes pretty close, and it's a lot easier to pump wizards as a mystic. When you're above 40% mana, you have a plus 20% offensive wizards per acre, so you get pretty close to that as well. Heretic is just really strong, so that works really well. The elves, they can be either mystics or necromancers. I'm not a huge fan of elf heretic just because of the minus 20% TPA from elf. You get 25 on heretic to counterbalance it, so maybe it could still work out. Same thing with rogue. That's the only reason I didn't put heretic or rogue for elf. But you could still do those. Or you can play elf as more of an attacker type and go with something like, I mean, even necromancer still works as an attacker, but you can go something like warrior. Warrior, okay, let me quick stop to say warrior is probably the absolutely strongest pick for an attacker personality this age. It's absolutely insane. You get 10 OME and you get bloodlust. And the only caveat with that one is Orc already has Bloodlust, so Warrior itself becomes less than its total strength, I guess, when you're playing it with an Orc. It doesn't mean that it's a bad combo. Orc Warrior is still good, but you're missing out because one of them already has Bloodlust, so you don't really need the other. Whereas with every other race that you play Warrior on, they get the 10 OME and they get the Bloodlust as an addition to whatever they already have. So Warrior is absolutely one of the best picks for non-orc attackers. So if you're going to be more of an attacker as an elf, I think Warrior is a huge pick there too. The few humans, they can be anything. Humans are just really good. They're really versatile. They can play absolutely anything. Obviously, if you want to focus on the science stacking, Artisan and Heretic are the absolute best. They have the plus 15% to a whole category of sciences, right? So Artisan has all of the economy science, and Heretic has all of the arcane science. And human has all science. So, a human Heretic is getting plus 32.25% efficiency on their arcane sciences. That's a lot. And likewise, a human artisan is getting all of that in econ science. So those are probably like the two best for science stacking specifically. But that doesn't, like, human is just good. They can do anything. So rogue is a good pick, or heretic again if you want to stack like Thieves Per Acre. Rogue has the extra stealth, so you're getting 5 stealth. Heretic, you're getting the Thieves Per Acre, plus the arcane science again. Sabotage damage with guile and invisibility, so a lot of good combos there with heretic and rogue. But yeah, you can seriously go anything. Warrior is again a huge pick for human too. So in addition to the OME and the Bloodlust, human already has some mercenary cost reduction. And they have prisoners automatically, so you don't even need the dungeons to get this bonus, right? So human warrior is actually another really good synergy there. So don't sleep on human warrior either. But again, human can literally go anything and it'll work well. Undead can also go anything, but I would really strongly advise, once again, considering warrior. So this defensive theme is 7 fairy, 7 undead, 7 elf, 4 human. That's what I would recommend there. I think it'd be a fun strategy to play with, running Sapphire Dragons and barrier rituals. I think your econ is going to be really good with the humans and the fairies with Tree of Gold. Elves and undead are kind of cheap, so I think that would be pretty fun. I think the next theme that is going to be pretty popular, I think a lot of people are going to be playing something like this, is what I call the Smash Face theme. Now this one, you want to run like onslaught rituals, and you want to consider emerald dragons as your starting dragons, and or ruby dragons. Later in wars, you probably want to stick to more ruby because emerald starts to lose a lot of their effect. But this is focused on kill stacking and just lots of offense and lots of damage. So orc, either paladin or general. I think general kind of works better for longevity, but paladin also works because they have the plus 15% kills, right? So orc has bloodlust. Paladin or general both have plus 15% additional casualties depending on generals used or whatever. What else? Pitfalls, Emerald Dragon, Onslaught Ritual, Bribe Generals if you want to add that in there. Anyway, when you add it all together, you end up getting I think I calculated it to 2.5 times the kill, 250% kills. It's crazy high. So if you get that Emerald Dragon out with an Onslaught Ritual and you're slamming away with all these Orc Generals or Orc Paladins, you're going to be killing so much. You're going to drop people's defense so quick. So that's kind of the main idea, right? But then you're not just So that's your 7 orcs, right? You can absolutely run more. Hey, baby. Popeye's doing something right now.
Hey, let's go with Dad.
You want to sit with Popeye for a bit? Okay, come here. All right. You want to say hi? Yeah. Say hi up there. Hi. Yeah, you're a little sleepy though, aren't you? Here, look. This is, see the. Oh, you can't see you. Do you see? Hi. Yeah. All right, let's get back down. Okay. That's one of my daughters. She's struggling to go to sleep right now. Anyway, so where was I? Yeah, the Smash Face theme. So you have minimum 7 orcs, right, to get the doctrine. Then you have 7 dwarves. The dwarves are there to help with like raises, as well as give you a few extra credits, which stacks with general as well. 7 humans, just because humans can do anything, and 4 dark elves. So the orcs, again, paladin or general, probably the ideal there. Dark elf, you can either go war hero for the 17-point specs, which helps a lot with your own dragon slaying, or warrior because they're just so good. I view dark elves this age as much more of an attacker than a hybrid. You can obviously still play dark elf hybrid pretty easily, but I just like a 15-point specialist. They are on par with most of the other elites, you know, especially when you add the horses, right? So you're at 17 power, which is more than avian. It's tied with, I think, humans and dwarves. So yeah, dark elf, and then dwarves, also warriors. But dwarves are also, they could go with like tactician just to get that reflect magic and clear sight combo going. And then artisan, just because dwarf artisans. So you can mix and match there. You don't have to do all the same. And then humans, either heretics or rogues as your hybrids. I don't know if I considered any mystics in this, but obviously you would want a couple of mystics. So I don't know, maybe make the humans mystics. You probably want to have a couple of fairies or elves in there just to have the mystics as well. Okay. There's only a couple more. I already talked about the avian one. That's the ultra speed theme. There's one that is the supreme econ theme. This one is it's one kind of like the 25 avian tacticians. It's one where everybody's an artisan, maybe throw in a couple of mystics, heretics, and rogues somewhere. But this one, you're relying on expedient rituals. You're just gonna spam topaz dragons, and you're just gonna go crazy on the econ, right? So you're gonna have 7 dwarves, 7 humans, 7 dark elves, and 4 fairies, and everybody's an artisan. Again, probably make a couple of those fairy mystics and rogues or something like that, or maybe some humans, make them rogues, or heretics if you want to go that way. But everybody else is just artisan. So first thing to note, right? Artisan has 100% espionage with no double cost. So you can get intel like no other, right? You're just gonna you're gonna have 100% intel. You're gonna know the enemy's wizards. You're gonna know their thieves. You're gonna know everything about them whenever you want, because 100% successful espionage at no additional cost is just, I love it. Everybody has greater protection and ghost workers. You're running an expedient ritual. Those doors are going to be really high BE. Everybody's going to have high BE. You play a higher homes build with all of them. Humans are going to be crazy econ science. Dwarves, again, the building efficiency. And then the dark elves, you know, like crazy rune production, and like fairies are the ones that struggle with econ. So they're going to be, you know, kind of like they have less BE, but the expedient will help them out. So I think that would be a really fun composition to play. You know, everything produces more, everything has higher capacity. Yeah, I think you're going to be able to stay on top of dragons. You're going to win the dragons like every time. So it might end up becoming a question of, does the opponent even slay the dragon, because you can fund them so quickly. But I think this would be really fun to play as a kingdom strategy. Just like like dwarves have reflect magic, humans have that crazy science. It's gonna be hard to control the population of a kingdom that plays this well, right? You want to pump that wizard's prayer on this kingdom, so you can prevent enemies from fireballing you too much. But yeah, I think that would be a really fun thing to play. And then the last one that I came up with is the Thief Mage Supremacy. This one you want to do Havoc Ritual with Sapphire Dragons, 7 Dark Elves, 7 Humans, 4 Fairies, 7 Halflings. It's just all, like, everything has buffs to something TM related, right? Everybody's running Heretics with a few Mystics and Rogues, maybe some Necros mixed in. But yeah, you're just like full TM, like you're running hybrids. You're not running full, like, pure TMs. So everybody can attack. Maybe even, yeah. So I think that one is a pretty straightforward one. Heretics, don't think that heretics are very strong. Like, if you compare them just to this age, you might think like, oh, they lost some things, but like, you want to compare them to the rest of everybody else, right? Everybody's science got nerfed to 15%, but they only have one thing that they have 15% on. A heretic has 15% to everything in arcane science, right? Last age, they had a mystic had 25% to channeling, right? So 15% to all was still weaker than 25% to channeling. But this age, they're going to have equal to mystics when it comes to channeling science efficiency. Now, obviously, it's easier for mystics to pump the actual wizards, but assuming you can both pump the wizards to the same amount, the heretics are going to sort of come out ahead. Yeah, there's still this thing. But, like, then you look at, like, the TPA, right, which is even higher than rogues, and plus 20% sabotage damage, and they still kept their chaotic affliction. So if you average this to 20%, you're looking at 50% stronger sabotage damage out the gate, right? Now, when you add in a Havoc Ritual and a Sapphire Dragon and I think it's the Halfling War Doctrine that increases sabotage damage as well, you're looking at like double damage sabotage, right? That's crazy. You can steal war horses if you catch them early. You can steal like twice as strong as normal. You can do night strikes that are doing double damage. It's a lot of like stacking sabotage damage there. So I think that's a really cool combination. And because you have the halfling doctrines, all of your provinces get the extra sabotage damage, right? So you're all heretics with Havoc Ritual. You throw a Sapphire Dragon and use it right away, right, to get the extra damage in. You're just gonna shred everybody. Like, you can just set 1-to-1 ratio. Like, your best TPA can hit their strongest ones, or you can maybe leave a couple of their rogues out or something if their TPA is too much to deal with. But you can like basically night strike the entire core of attackers like that. Obviously, they're gonna run. If they're smart, they'll run watchtowers against you. But like, still, you can get through those watchtowers. Who cares? But anyway, so those were my Funsies, Katie compositions. There's also a few like shout outs I want to talk about. One of them is Dark Elf plus Tactician, or Dark Elf plus General. Dark Elf Tactician is interesting because you get, the attack time with the quick feet, so that stacks really well. You get an additional 40% specialist credits, which, you can train thieves as a Dark Elf, so that's like really good. And you get clear sight plus illuminate shadows. So as an attacker, you don't have to run a lot of thieves anyway, but you have a lot of protection against thievery. And then the last, what's the matter, baby? No. You wanna go with Dada? I'm almost done. I'll be right there. Okay? Yeah. Just a second, baby. You wanna sit up here again for a little bit, or you got her?
She's gonna start.
Screaming out you. Come here. All right, come. All right, and then the other one is Dark Elf plus General. This one is just kind of neat because you can train elites with specialist credits, and Dark Elves can train thieves with specialist credits, meaning you can train everything with specialist credits. So I think Dark Elf General can be really fun just to be able to do that. It's not exactly, you know, a bad combo. It's just kind of fun. Let's see. I think Fairy Necromancer is where you can get the best wizards per acre offensively. I don't know if it's worth it compared to just Mystic, but yeah. Let's see. I think Dark Elf. A lot of the fun, like weird combos are Dark Elf. Dark Elf War Hero, you can get 17-point offensive specialists, right? So that's really good dragon slaying power with specialists that are cheap. The other fun one I think would be a Fairy War Hero. I think the 2 offensive specialist strength is most powerful on the weakest specialist, right? So fairies only having 10. I think halfling also, but like halfling has a 10-point elite as well, so you don't even need to run offensive specialists there. So I think for efficiency's sake, I think Fairy actually works best with War Hero because they have the 10-point offensive specialist for offense. Oh, that's not Fairy, this is Fairy. 10-point offensive specialist, and then elites are your defense, right? So that's a 20% increase to your offense, kind of, as opposed to like, you know, on a Dark Elf, it's only like a 15 or 12% increase or something like that. Plus, as a fairy, I think you're actually going to be able to hold on to your honor better than almost any other race. You know, having the automatic fails on spells, having the bonus wizards per acre, you know, running some watchtowers. I think a fairy war hero is most likely to hold on to their honor compared to everybody else. All right, is there any other really fun combos? I think I already pointed out the human heretic, human artisan. Paladin daily bonus is weird. I guess this is like if you're really science hunting, this is probably, you know, the best personality to gain the most books because you're getting an extra 3 ticks a day from it. I don't know if that's really that much, but that's an interesting note, I guess. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much all of the main like combos and unique fun like things you can come up with. Let me know if you see any combos that I missed that look really fun. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video, got to see a little bit of Changes Council perspective. I probably forgot to talk about some things I wanted to talk about. That's how life is with kids, right? Okay, without further ado, see you guys around. Bye.